Well, hello and welcome once again to another edition of Pray on This. Hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Before we get going today, I just want to remind you all we now live in the era of Bill C-11, the woke Trudeau government and their censorship laws. Speaking of the woke liberal government, today's rant, why I will never bow down to the woke mob. Before I get going, I want to wish you all the best of days. Hope you had a wonderful Easter with your family and friends. It was a kind of a special weekend around my house, as it was not just Easter, but it was also my wife-to-be Pamela's birthday. We spent Saturday with her family and Sunday with mine. It was a wonderful weekend, lovely conversations, and actually quite eye-opening. You see, my wife, she comes from a small family. Just her sister and her mom and the men in her life, plus herself, of course. Where my family is much larger. I myself had two brothers, so I grew up in a family of five, and it's easy to see that the men outnumbered the women 4-1. Even when you extend it out to my aunts and uncles, well, I have 7 male cousins, and I only have 4 female cousins. So, I grew up in a family that was very male dominated, but with everything else in life, things do change. And when I sat down for dinner at my mom's house on Sunday, I was surprised and shocked by just how many women were sitting around that table. And when I say women, yes, my nieces are getting older. My daughters are grown, and all but one of my mom's grandchildren are now adults. I was also quite pleased and enlightened as to how educated the women sitting around that table were. There was an accountant, a scientist who is also a health and safety specialist, a master beautician, a pharmaceutical technician, a third-year nursing student, a student teacher, and a first-year law student. And it was very enlightening to see that, hey, this group of 7 women, 2 who are Gen X, 2 millennials, and 3 Generation Z, well, these are all professional or will be professional women. These are all the type of women that you would think would be feminists, and they're all the type of women who you would believe would be progressive. Yet, I just sat there listening to their conversations. And they were some pretty good ones. They started out very funny and very lighthearted, including my niece Chloe and my niece Julia saying that Uncle John has a radio voice and that he should be on a smooth jazz radio station. And, you know, my brother then sticking in saying that, well, your uncle's got a YouTube channel if you want to go watch him there. Just remember, he is conservative, more conservative than I am. But what I really focused on was the conversation going on with these women. My mom really wasn't paying attention. She was playing with my grandkids. But these 7 women sat there talking. And one of the subjects they talked about first was the Trudeau press release on the weekend that almost 50% of all judges in this country are now women, and what a great accomplishment it was. Yet, the niece who was going to law school came right out and said, well, did these women get their appointments to the bench by merit? Or is this just Justin Trudeau filling quotas? There was a couple of questions. But then my niece countered back with, well, let's be honest. This is a prime minister who says he's a feminist, yet if you don't toe his line and you don't just fill his quota and then keep your mouth shut, you're gone faster than you can say Judy Wilson-Raybould. They then started talking about the cost of living, and my mom looked up from her 2-year-old great-grandson for a moment to make a comment, to which the accountant of the group quite quickly put her in her place, saying, "You know, Mom, to be brutally honest, when you spend like a drunken sailor the way Trudeau has for the last 8 years, you create these economic problems. And the people that you hurt the most are the poor and seniors like yourself and Papa, who are on a fixed income. You just don't want to see that the people who Trudeau is hurting the most are the same ones that he's telling lies to, that he has your back. And you don't realize that he gives you these little crumbs because he wants you to be dependent upon him, because he needs your vote." In the end, though, the conversation started to turn towards the transgendered activists. It became very, very heated, the discussion, yet a unified voice. It started with the youngest mother saying outright she believes that drag queen story time and the transitioning of young children is a form of child abuse. She also went so far as to say that I will always, always support my sister. Yet I believe my sister should convince her group, the L's, along with the G's and the B's, to leave and distance themselves from the T's, the Q's, the A's, the I's, and the pluses. There was a few questions, but then she came right out and said it. Look, it seems to me that these people have a radical agenda, that they're anti-woman, and that they are abusive towards children, and that they're trying to erase women and our value in society, and that they're trying to use our children for some experiment to prove their own existence. It was rather interesting. I was then pressed by my daughter to give my opinion, to which I said, well, ladies, I could wade in here with an opinion, but it's not needed. You guys said everything I would say. You just said it in a more kinder, more gentler version of what I would say. The simple fact is that this woke agenda is no longer playing. The bloom is off the rose. You're all unmasked. When I questioned my wife about it on our way home from my mom's, I even asked her, "Why aren't you a feminist?" She looked at me straight in the face and she said, "Feminism lies. Feminism tells you you can have it all. They told me that I could have a career and I could wait till later in life to have children, that I could sleep with as many partners as I wanted and not have any consequences, and that my value would be in the workplace." Well, I didn't sleep with that many people, but I did wait to have children. I waited long enough that the endometriosis that runs in my family took away my ability to naturally become a mother, and that I'm not the only woman that this has happened to. That the career is nothing compared to the value I now find in being a stepmother and a grandmother. And that I don't like people who tell me that the fact that I value being your wife and stepmom to your daughters and step grandma to your grandchildren more than I value my executive position at my company. I also don't like the fact that feminists are trying to erase men, or at least everything it is to be a man, claiming that it's all toxic. She said that she's talked at length with my sister-in-law, with her sister, and with a lot of her friends, all roughly around the same age, very late Gen X and early millennials, who all say the same thing. They love men. Men are needed. Men are necessary. Men are wanted in society, and they are especially wanted by women. All they ask is that we be competent. And they are getting sick of a very small yet vocal group, which are the feminists, the trans activists, and the extremely woke, who want to, in her opinion, tear down and destroy the very fabric of what our society is built upon. They want to tell you that what's up is down and what's day is actually night. They want to tell you how to live your life, and they want you to blindly accept their theories no matter how weird or radical they are. They don't even believe the theories themselves. They've tried to use legislation to force us to change the language. They try to use legislation to force their agenda down our throats. They won't accept the fact that some little boys can be flamboyant little boys, like the color pink and want to play with dolls, and turn out to be normal, heterosexual young men, or they turn out to be gay men. They're not girls trapped in a boy's body. The same as you can have a little girl who prefers to wear pants and play baseball and football and play with trucks, and yet they can turn out to be the most feminine of young women. That perfectly describes my wife. And she said she had never once thought that she was a boy, but she liked doing the things that the boys did. However, in this generation, there are those who would have demanded that her mother put her up to be transitioned to be a boy, or that my grandson, who is a little bit more sensitive, that perhaps he's a girl. Well, no, he's not. He's a boy. He's just a sensitive little boy. I came to the conclusion that what's really going on is that there is a small but radical group of people who the media and very weak politicians, who are mostly men like Trudeau and Biden, have given an undeserved, incredible amount of power to this group. And that this group, although they say that they come in peace and that they're enlightened and they just want to improve society, they're none of the such things. They are the sort of people that when you really listen to them, they will say they're anti-racist, and yet most of their remarks regarding racism is nothing but racist. They are the sort of people that say that they're not against religion, and yet they will tear down every religion they can get their hands on. They'll say that they believe in science, and yet they will slap you in the face if you tell them that biology matters and that their way is the only way. Some of their theories are so radical, they're nothing more than science fiction, not even close to science fact. And the fact of the matter is that it's not only that they want you and need you to agree with them, it's because they need you to agree with them because they don't believe their own theories themselves, and they need you to verify what they believe. I've seen them for what they are. The majority of Canadians and Americans are starting to wake up to what they are. Their agenda follows a very radical form of socialism that wants to destroy capitalism and wants to take away our way of life. They're going about it through a different means. They're attacking what it is to be a man and erasing manhood. They're attacking what it is to be a woman and erasing womanhood. They are trying to destroy the family. They are the sort of people that want to rip apart our entire society and then build it back in their utopia. And they're willing to use our children as experiments to prove their radical theories. So when I'm confronted with the woke mob, whether it be from a young teenager who really doesn't know anything, right up to the powerful like Justin Trudeau, or the most powerful, the President of the United States, Joe Biden. And when they call me a homophobe or a transphobe, a bigot, a racist, a sexist, a misogynist, tell me that I'm anti-science, anti-logic, or then really try and shut me down by calling me a fascist. I know who the real fascist is. It's the person who's screaming it. And I will always say this to you. My answer yesterday, today, tomorrow, and every day after that will be no, sir. I will not bow down to your woke religion. I will not give in. And I will not do so because I love and will always protect my wife, my mother-in-law, my daughters, my nieces, my sister-in-laws, and my female cousins. I will not give in because I'm not a racist. I love my indigenous cousins. I will not give in to you because I love and respect my brother, my grandsons, my stepfather, and my male cousins, and my nephew. I will not allow you to even attempt to cancel men who are the protectors of our society, the family, which is the unit on which our society is built, or women who are the nurturers of our society. I won't even let you disparage the hand that rocks the cradle. I will fight you every step of the way. And I am not alone. Our ranks are swelling. Yours are shrinking. Thank goodness that people have finally woken up to who you really are. That, as always, is Pray on This. Before I leave you today, I just want to put a quick shout out to the pleb, to Viva Fry, to Mr. Sunshine Baby, and all other right-wing commentators. I hope that at least some of us survived the attack of Bill C-11, and I hope to talk to you all again very soon.